I guess it was close to, well, our anniversary was the 14th of February. And he called me around that time. And we chatted a little bit, and I guess I don't know how the conversation got going, but somehow in the course of talking to him, I said, Brian, do you have AIDS? Well, I'm sitting on the seat in the kitchen, say no, please say no, no. And he said, Mom, what would you say if I told you yes? And I said, well, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, choose the right things. And I told him, well, we certainly would love you and take care of you and have you home here with us and do whatever we needed. I mean, you're our son. And so then he still didn't say I have AIDS. He still said, just talked about generalities, I guess. And so we never, and Brian never told me either that he was gay. From the time he was little, dressing up in tutus and wearing funny sister hats here with his sister, putting lipstick on. God, how stupid you can be. I knew something wasn't quite right. At least I thought so. And I knew that my mother's side of the family there were gay uncles, and we didn't use that word gay. I don't know what we used way back then. Anyway, it was gay. And so it was finally, I'd say to Diane, "Is Brian, can you just tell me?" And I remember saying that to her. She was brushing her hair in the front of the mirror in the bathroom, and I said, "Diane, can you tell me?" And she said, "Mom, he's not gay. Make Mom happy, tell her what she wants to hear." But the day that I found out about this terrible disease, I was in cleaning the bathtub. I will never forget that. And this was when it first started, years and years before. And I thought, I stopped. I had the news on, and I stopped and I listened. Well, of course, I'm like, oh, dear Lord, I pray Brian never gets that. Well, me thinking, you don't have a son that hangs out in the gay bars, and you can be so dumb sometimes that you just can't believe yourself. And so I heard that, and I thought, oh my goodness, that's a terrible thing. There's no cure, there's no nothing. And I just thought that will never happen, Brian, but yet it was still always in the back of your head. Brian's friend Matt and I, they had all those quilts down at the mall in Washington. Matt came over from New York and stayed here, and then the next day we went someplace and we picked up the bus. I imagine that we must have had a group of us that went, and we walked up and down and up and down, and those quilts, I mean, they're incredible. They're amazing to see what people have put together and about their lives and how they were loved, and it's just amazing. That, I guess I want to say, that's Brian. Brian had such a sense of humor, and I think it also helped to cover a lot of hurt in his life. because going to high school wasn't a good trip, you know. He'd come home from school different times, and he'd kind of be in tears, and I'm like, "You're too old to be crying," you know. Well, he would never tell you. He would never say what it was. But I found out that eventually what it was all about. My aunt lived down in Florida after her husband died, and she was in, I guess, Miami area. And she had a picture taken, and it was, she was in her bathing suit. And it was one piece, and she had a little white jacket on. She had her hands like this, you know, and so cute. And she was a cute little aunt, and so he made a tie out of that. And I know I'm sure he must have sent her one. I don't know whatever happened to hers. And it just, for some reason, I got shortchanged on that. It was sports. He did one of vegetables. He did one of fruits. He just, you know, whatever. I was working for a physician in town. He was also a family friend, and I wasn't driving at that particular time. I didn't have a car, and I had to work on Wednesday nights in the office, and he brought me home one night and got talking about gay children, about Brian, and about Brian being gay and so forth. And he said, "You've got to accept it. Yes, he is gay. You know he's gay." And well, that did it. That, you know, that the waterworks came on then. And then from the time he said to me, you know, you've got to, you know this, you know he's gay, and you've got to accept it. So, but anyway, it's sort of an amazing fact to me that when I think about it, all the young men, I don't know if it was water or what it was, out here in this area, in this development, there were a bunch of kids who were around Brian's age. And I bet 8 or 10 of those kids, now they didn't all hang together, they were on different streets and they'd see one another at school and things. But they turned out to be gay. And some of those mothers are still not saying, you know, they have gay children. I had one friend who's deceased, and she had a son, and he was about a month behind Brian in age. And when he graduated, he went to Penn State, and he took horticultural classes, and I don't know, he came out, he was going to be into landscaping or something. Anyway, he went to California, and guess what? He's gay, and has had a friend with him for a long, long time. And one time, his mother was talking to me, and they were getting ready to go visit Bill in California, the husband and wife, and she said, "Arlene," she said, "I gotta ask you something. I hope you don't mind." And I said, "No, go ahead." And she said, "How do I know if Bill is gay?" You know, and she's asking me all these questions about AIDS and about gays and so forth. I said, "I'm not very smart about any of this, but this is what happened, you know, with us and so forth." And she said, "Well," I said, "you know, he's your son. That's it. You love him." When I saw Brian's quilt, Well, I cried, of course. Uh, and I was happy it was there. I was sad to see it there uh, because I knew what it was all about. And, um, it's hard to, when I look back now, it's hard to think that I stood there, and I mean, there were so many there. Oh my gosh, there were so many there. And they all had families. I'm sorry. Uh, it just broke my heart. That such talent, such a loving guy, and uh, send a man to the moon, but we can't, you know, we have medicine now. That came too late.